Okay, let's go. Welcome everyone to the Contributor Day, and thank you for joining the core editor team. On this session, we'll go through some basic introduction to the Gutenberg repository and how to set up an environment in order to contribute to Gutenberg. So I'm going to start sharing my screen quickly. I hope you see everything.
Yep, I can see.
So, perfect, thank you. So the Gutenberg repository, Zoom is messing up with my sharings. GitHub.com/WordPress/Gutenberg. So in this repository, we develop basically the block editor of WordPress and several JavaScript packages that can be used inside and outside WordPress. And so to understand how the repository is managed and handled, we have this document you can access. It's called the repository management document. It can be accessed on the Gutenberg handbook. All these links are actually on the doc I shared on the core editor Slack channel. So you can go to this document and it has all the links I'm gonna talk about. So let's start with the repository management. So we have 3 teams working on the 3 GitHub teams working on the repository. So there's a triage team. Anyone can join the triage team. So if you're interested in helping with triage and helping with issues, testing issues, you can join. Just ask to join this team and you will be added. There's a Gutenberg team, which is composed of the developers working on the project. You can contribute to Gutenberg by opening pull requests without being a member of this team. But as soon as you make 2 or 3 pull requests, you will be added to this team. So you can work directly on the repository without working on the GitHub fork. And there's a Gutenberg core team. If you become like a regular contributor, you may join this team to like perform releases, NPM releases, plugin releases, run different chats and things like that. So these are the teams. There's several explanations here about the issues, how we label issues, how we create pull requests, and several guidelines. I invite you to go check a look to this, take a look at this document if you want to go deeper. So that's it about the repository. Now let's start setting up an environment. Let's say we want to work on a new issue on Gutenberg. I can go to the where is the repository here, WordPress Gutenberg. I can go to the issues, and I can label here. I can filter by the Gut first issues. There's a dozen of issues here. You can take a look at each one of these. For this session, we'll try to work on the first one here. No, not this one. The second one. We're going to pick basically a component from the code base and try to refactor it quickly. But before doing so, we need to set up an environment in order to work on Gutenberg. And Gutenberg is actually a WordPress plugin. So to do so, for contributors, the first thing to do is to go to the repository and actually fork it, because at the beginning you don't have the rights to work directly on the repository. So you fork it to your own GitHub account. You see, I already forked the GitHub. If I click the fork button, it will create your own fork of the WordPress Gutenberg repository. So now I'm on my own repository here. So the next step is to clone this repository locally. I can go to this clone button here. I grab the link, open the terminal, let's say a new window, and clone. And let's choose a better
Riad,
default.
your screen stopped sharing for me.
Oh.
Thank you.
Is it back?
Yeah, it's back now.
Thank you. So I'm going to clone the repository here. I copied the link, so I just type git clone and I give it a name like Riad Gutenberg. Rename it. However, this is going to take a little while because the repository right now is a little bit big, so it may take like 5-10 minutes depending on your bandwidth. I already cloned the repository locally, so I'm going to switch to my cloned repository here. So right after cloning the repository, I need to install the dependencies. So I told you before starting, you might need some requirements to work with the repository. And we actually need 3 things. I forgot this step, so I'm going to go back to my navigator. So at first you need to download Git because we're going to use Git to communicate with the repository. Just go to this website, gitscm.com, and you download it and install it. We need also Node.js, which, so Gutenberg is mainly a JavaScript project, and we work a lot with Node. So you just install the latest LTS version, depending on you just go to the website and you download the binary of your own operating system. And then the last thing we are going to need is Docker. So if we go to the docker.com, it takes a while for some reason. Okay, so getting I have a link actually here to the on the document I shared. You can go here to load Docker, and Docker is basically a tool that will allow us to set up environments where there are already and the plugin installed. So this is something used by Gutenberg internally to set up the environment. We're going to see how to use that. So once you install these 3 things, you'll be able to start working with the repository. So I told you after cloning, the first thing to do is to install the dependencies. You do so by running npm install command line. You just, it might take like 2 or 3 minutes as well. And same thing here, I already did that, so it's quicker for me, but it might take some minutes. Let's see. I have a poor bandwidth here, so even if I already have the dependencies there, it takes a minute. So now I have everything installed and ready. I'm going to start npm run dev. So this command, what it does is triggers the code transpiling or code compilation. So whenever you make a change to the code, this is going to update the code live. So you just run this command and forget about it. Like it's running on the background. As you make changes, it will update the build running on your environment. So I'm just going to keep it running on its own terminal tab. I'm opening a new one, and I come back to my folder where I cloned Gutenberg. It's this one. So now that we have the code ready and it's being compiled, we need an environment where the Gutenberg plugin is being executed and the WordPress install. And to do so, we have a tool embedded in repository, and you can just trigger npm run -p-env environment start. And this tool will start the environment on the background. It will use Docker, the dependencies we installed. The first time you run this command, it may take also like 2 or 3 minutes. And the second time, because it's going to download Docker images locally, but the next time you run it, it's almost instantaneous. So it's starting now. We'll see that it's pretty quick for me. still not quick enough for Zoom's calls. I think at this point it might be already running, so we can go to the, oh, actually it's already running, so that's probably why I have an issue here. I can check with my browser. So when you run this command, it's going to open a web server in the Docker container, so you can access basically your install by typing localhost 2.8888 on your browser, and it will run your WordPress install with Gutenberg activated there, and everything is ready to develop. So I can go to the admin, for instance, and I log in with admin password. That's the default password we use, default username and password we use. So now if I go to add new, I can see that I am on the latest. Oh no, maybe I'm not on the latest actually. So let's see if the plugin is enabled. So this is an error. I think I had an issue. It means this is something you could face yourself as well. It means the command I ran to start the environment didn't work as expected. So I can go to my terminal again and try stop and start. It can happen that sometimes the plugin disappears for some reason. I think we have a bug that we didn't figure out yet. So you can stop it and start it again, and hopefully this time it will work. I'm not confident. It's taking it's taking more time than I expected. Oh, cool. So now if I refresh this page, I think the Gutenberg plugin will be here. Yes, so it's here and it's enabled. So everything is fine. I can now go to the new post page, and we'll see that now I am on the latest version. I recognize that because I have a new design here. So I recognize that I have the Gutenberg plugin enabled. So let's see, let's say we are going to work on an issue. I come back to the repository, like I showed you earlier. WordPress Gutenberg, issues, good first issues. So I'm going to pick this issue. It says, let's refactor all React class components to functional components. But this is a very big issue, and there's a lot of components we need to refactor. I'm going to, for this demo, I'm going to just pick a very simple one, and we can go through the different steps, how to do so, and how to create a pull request and submit it at the end. So I'm going to open my code editor here. I can search for, if I want to find all the component that use, all the React component that use the class component, I can search for this, and I will find a lot of ones here. One I'm going to pick, I think I already took a look at these before the chat, so I'm going to pick a very simple one I know about. So in the components package, we have a form file upload component. So you can see this component is using a class component. To perform this task, obviously you need some React knowledge. But let's not focus on that like a lot for this Zoom talk. I will do the refactoring very quickly, but that's something you can learn on your pace, or you can do something else that doesn't require React. So I'm going to do the refactoring very quickly. So it needs to be a functional component. These things are props, should go here. I will just copy this code above so I know what it does, and the render function becomes the actual component. So basically we need a reference. Okay, let's create a reference in React with the hooks. We create something like that, use ref. Bind input, it's here, so we can use the ref here directly. And the last thing we need to copy is this open file dialog. It's triggered here, so let's say we trigger open file dialog function. I'm going to copy it here, ref current. So I think I'm done. This is like very simple component. Use ref is not imported, so I need to import it properly. Or press element. Okay, so we just refactored this component. This component is form file upload component. It is used on the, for example, on the image block to upload images. We can go quickly check that we didn't break anything. We just refactor the component and it just works the same way it used to work. So I can go to my navigator, to my environment. I refresh the page. On the background, as I showed you earlier, my npm run dev command is running. So it, as I saved the file, it just recompiled it, and I can go directly to my browser and test it. So if I now insert an image block, oh, see, I have an error. Let's open the console. Don't use Safari for debugging, use Chrome, but I use Safari because everyone uses Chrome, so I can find bugs, actual bugs on Safari. But, so what does it say? It's undefined is not an object on this open file dialog. Yes, so see, I left this here, but I don't need it anymore. It's the function here directly. So that was causing an error. If I refresh the page now, and I try again, see, I don't have an error. I can upload. So this is the component, basically. Let's create a new image and upload it. Sorry, here. It seems to work as expected. Well, we don't see anything because it's the same color, but it seems to work as expected. So now I can go and commit my change and propose a pull repository. So how do you do so? I can go to my terminal, git status to show the changes I did, git diff detail change. I can create a branch. Let's call it refactor form file upload. Branch is created. Now I can commit my change. So I add it. I commit the change. Refactor form file upload to use React hooks. it's running some checks, some ESLint checks and things like that before the commit. And now I'm ready. I can push my changes to the repository. So git push and the name of the branch you want to push. Now I can go back to my navigator. I can go to GitHub. The branch should be now on GitHub. I can go there, and you will notice that GitHub is smart enough to detect that I just pushed a new branch. So maybe I want to create a pull request based on this branch. The same thing happens if you're working on your forked repository. Right now I'm working on Gutenberg directly, but it's similar. So we can click this button. We have some instructions here to help you what information is important to add when you create a pull request. But for now, I'm just going to do it very quickly. So I can say related to this issue. I can give the name of the issue I was working on. This one. So related to this, refactored to use and I can give some testing instructions. Make sure that uploading images using the image block upload button works as expected. So that's it. I can create my pull request. Depending on if you have rights or not, you can label your pull request. Otherwise, a more experienced contributor will come and just add the required labels. And that's it. We finished our PR and we can go to the next task. So for today, there are different ways of contributing. The one I showed you is basically contributing with code with the Goose first issues, but you can also contribute by reviewing pull requests from other folks. Like the simplest pull requests have this label attached to them, which is good first. You can filter pull requests by good first review and just give your opinion or ask questions about these pull requests and things like that. I see that someone already added good first review on my pull request. That's a nice one. You can also contribute to the documentation. Gutenberg documentation is written in Markdown inside the repository itself. We have here some instruction on how to edit the documentation, how to help with these. And there are also good first issues related to documentation. You can click this link and you will find them here. Just pick whatever you want. Writing end-to-end tests is also a good way to contribute. When you end-to-end tests are basically tests that perform, that open the browser and do stuff on the editor like any user. Like this is all automated. It may be a little bit challenging if you're not familiar with end-to-end testing like before, but I think it's a good way to understand how the project works in general. So you can just go check these here. And if you don't want to help with code and things like that, there are also other ways of contributing by testing and triaging open issues. So you can open the issues in the repository, for example, and label the issues and see and test if it's a valid bug that is being raised or if it's something that has been fixed. Check duplicate issues and things like that. And regarding to the triage work, we have some guidelines also as well on the repository management doc I showed you earlier. So that's it. That's all I have to share with you today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. And yeah, thank you. How do I stop?
Thank you, Riad.
I'm not sure how do I stop sharing my screen. Oh, I see. If you have questions, feel free. Just go ahead. Do we have questions on the chat maybe? Local by flywheel. Of course, you can use local by flywheel if you want. The environment I showed you that is embedded on Gutenberg is basically an easy way with single line command you trigger everything. But if you use local by flywheel, you will have to put Gutenberg Repository on the plugins directory of your WordPress install to make it work, because the repository is a plugin. So you just put it on the plugins folder and you enable it, and it should work. I saw that Andrew replied. Are there any other questions I missed? That's it. If there's no more questions, I can close the chat for now. So feel free to hang out on Core Editor Slack channel and ask questions. There's a lot of people there who can help you with whatever. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thanks.